Welcome back to Philosophy 1101, Problems of Philosophy at the University of Connecticut. Today will be our third discussion and final discussion of issues in ethics. This time we'll be discussing the ethical doctrine known as deontology, or deontological ethical theories. Deontological ethics are one flavor, one species of the idea of thinking about ethics that is known as moral objectivism. This is the doctrine that there is a fact of the matter as to what's right and wrong, and that this fact is not, so to speak, relative to any point of view. Moral objectivism is compatible with quotidian relativism, that is the idea that we can recognize lots of difference of opinion in the world as to right and wrong. You can hold this objectivism without, so to speak, sitting in judgment of others. That is to say, without thinking of yourself as being superior to other people, because one can judge somebody else to have made a moral error without thinking that you're yourself immune to such errors. And you can also respect other people's autonomy while being an objectivist, because as we noted last time, we saw that even if I do think another person or another society is doing something immoral, it's a further or more complicated question whether I should actually intervene and try to change them, and often doing so will do more harm than good. And so, as it were, being hegemonic in my ethical thinking does not follow from being an objectivist in that ethical thinking. And notice that also that utilitarianism is an objectivist moral theory. Now, by way of thinking about where today's discussion, today's kind of moral theory stands, let's go back to the table that we considered before. We talked about answers to the question, what makes right acts right? And we considered, first of all, the consequentialist view, one form of which is ethical egoism, another which is utilitarianism. Today I want to focus on the idea that emphasizes motives, and that's associated with the philosopher Immanuel Kant. In this course, we won't have time to think about the natural law tradition or other traditions in ethical thinking, but today we'll move on to another of the two main topics in ethics that we'll be able to discuss in this course. The most famous proponent of deontological, nowadays known as Kantian ethics sometimes, is Immanuel Kant, whose dates were 1724 to 1804. He was one of the most influential philosophers of the Western tradition. He also had interests in natural science, in particular astronomy. He was the first recorded scholar to postulate other galaxies. And nowadays, what's sometimes called Kantian ethics has many current champions. That is, there are a good number of contemporary professional philosophers who make a career out of defending one another aspect of the Kantian position as an approach to ethical questions. On his tomb, where he is buried in Königsberg, Germany, he wrote, there's a quotation from something that he wrote, "Two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration and awe. The more often and perseveringly my thinking engages itself with them. The starry heavens above me and the moral law within me." Kant seems to be suggesting here that there's something sublimely powerful about at least two things that he's taken notice of: the starry heavens that we mentioned before in considering his work on astronomy, and the moral law within me. And when he talks about the moral law within him, we want to ask the question, what does that mean? What does that come to for Kant, and why should that be of interest to us?